Hey, what's up everyone? Mike here, and today we're doing the Q&A. Because I've been away for a while, I have a huge list of questions I need to cover for this series, so it's definitely going to be at least a two-part video. I'm going to cover 5 questions in this one. I'll probably upload the second part late tonight after the live show or early tomorrow morning, and there'll also be a huge haul video tomorrow as well, so stay tuned. Plenty of content to come. I got tons of stuff I want to show you guys. Over 900 video games in my recent pickup, so it's absolutely massive. Do not miss it. One other thing I want to say before we get started is thanks to the viewer who seen me while I was on vacation, actually, for mentioning it and walking up to me or whatever and saying hi. I appreciate that so much. His name was Dave. We were actually at the casino, my cousin and me and her boyfriend, and he was at the bar and he's like, "Wait a minute, what's your name?" And then he asked what I did for a living. He's like, "I knew it was you." So that made my day. We had a great long conversation, and it's so nice to meet viewers. I actually have never had that experience before. I know Chad said he's met plenty of viewers, but I don't really see many people around Ohio that see the videos. And so it was just a great experience. So thanks so much for mentioning it and talking to me. It was really cool to talk to someone that's like-minded and enjoys business as well. And if you're watching this, Dave, hopefully you made it back to Vegas safely and no issues. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the questions because I do have a ton to answer, and this is going to end up being a pretty long video. That's why I'm going to break it up into multiple parts. The first question is from Jason. Jason said, if you have a game with the system and a box, should you always send it into FBA with the box? He said, I have an N64 with one controller, power cable, and AV cord along with the box, but I would literally have to stuff stuff inside the box with newspaper or something else so the console doesn't move around. So Jason, what you're asking is you have like the shell, the outside of the box, you're missing the inside. So technically the box isn't complete. This happens often actually because people rip that inside out, they throw it out, and then they save the outside box for whatever reason. So my suggestion would be you can absolutely send it in with the box, take photos, and then like bubble wrap the items and put them in there neatly. That's what I always do. You want to wrap those items neatly so they don't move around. You can shove paper in there and stuff, but it doesn't look very professional. So pick something that looks decent when it goes in there. And that's how I've always done it. I don't think you'll have any issues if you do it that way. Or you can break it apart and just sell the shell on eBay. They sell very well over there as well. And you know, there's always collectors looking for the shell or even just the inside. So if you ever come across the inside of a box, you can sell it because people like you who want to complete it before they sell it might even be looking for it. He's Behind You says, what is the best way to test disc games? The way I think is you have to install, which takes a long time. Any help would be appreciated. First of all, that is the creepiest name I've ever seen on YouTube. Seriously. And as far as disc games, it depends on the console. I think you're talking about newer disc games like PS3, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS4. A lot of those games you have to install when you go to play the disc, so that's kind of annoying. There's really no way around it. There is a device that I've seen only once, and I bring it up, and people claim it doesn't exist or they never heard of it. There's a game shop that used to be by me when I was a kid that had this thing. You just put the disc in, and it will just scan it and tell you if it'll work or not. I don't know how it works exactly. It was like a really quick process, and it was probably one of the cooler things I've ever seen, but I can't find it online, never heard of it. Maybe someone made it for them, I don't know, but they would just put the disc in there. It would take like 2 seconds. It would say if it would work or not, if there's any errors, and then it would be done. Unfortunately, those aren't abundant, so you need to find the console. You need to test disc games as part of doing it. Disc games are a lot different than cartridges. You know, if they look good on the bottom, then you could potentially just say they're probably going to work. 99% of the time, they are going to work if they look good. But there is that 1% that could end up biting you in the ass, especially if you're selling on FBA or something along those lines. Barbara says, I'm surprised you're selling video game consoles and used video games on Amazon versus eBay. I read, watch, and listen to someone in the past and been gorging myself with educational content, and Amazon seems the best for new things and eBay seems the best for used and collectible. Your thoughts? So Barbara, good for you for learning and getting educated and researching. I appreciate that so much as someone who teaches, because people come to me with the dumbest questions that they could easily research and answer. Now, this is a big debate really, but the problem is eBay's market over the last couple years hasn't stayed as strong, and Amazon's has grown substantially. So that means that puts us in a position where Amazon's doing well for used and new, and eBay's not doing as well. eBay's definitely much better for unique goods and certain used items, but I wouldn't say video games is one of them. I can get a much higher price on Amazon for video games than I do on eBay. That being said, I still sell tons of video games on eBay, just in large lots or to people I know or connections. But I don't think it's a debate here. Video games are great on both platforms, guys. They're a huge, huge market. People love them, and the fans are diehard. It doesn't really matter where you're selling video games. As long as you're pricing competitively, you have good games, you will make tons of money. Elaine says, I have a question I don't think I've ever seen asked on your show. When you send in a console or controller or anything else that does not have the box, do you create a new listing and slap a new UPC on it, or do you use the existing listing? The reason I ask is because the existing listings do not have different dimensions or weights, and Amazon will charge you the weight and dimension for storage as if it had the box. Hope this makes sense. So this is very insightful and a fantastic question. The way Amazon's fees for FBA work is actually they just go off the listing's weight and dimensions. You're completely right. And the fact is, oftentimes, it's way higher than your items, but also there's items you send in that it's way lower. So I think on an overall scale, it just evens out and I don't worry about it too much. There are items where this can be a huge issue, however. Say you're sending in a guitar and the dimensions are for a box it originally came in, your fees will be much, much higher than they should be, and this can create issues. So one thing you can do is there might be a way you can request them to measure your item when it goes in and actually get actual dimensions and weight. I know they don't measure everything. There's no way they do. So maybe there's a way to request that. Aside from that, I don't think it's good to create your own listing. See, creating your own listing is a pain because you need to drive traffic to it. And if you cannot do that, if you cannot get reviews on the item and drive traffic to it, it's not going to sell consistently. And the only way to do that is if you have an item with a large quantity, and usually those would be in the box anyway. So one-off used items, they need to go on the existing listing whether or not you like it and whether or not the fees are too high. Just price accordingly. Usually other people are pricing accordingly as well. So the price represents the fees pretty well, I would say. Scott says, I use glass cleaner to clean the pins on game cartridges because I heard rubbing alcohol will corrode the pins just as bad as water in long term. Any truth to this? Scott, I would say no. Now, I'm not saying on an overall scientific level maybe that is true, but the reason I'm going to say no is this. First of all, alcohol evaporates very quickly. It's the reason we use it, so there's no liquid sitting in there. So I would say there's no way it corrodes near as much as water. That'd be a little far-fetched. Now, can it corrode if you use it a lot? Probably, I would say it definitely could. But if you're cleaning a cartridge once every few months or once a year or once, I don't know, every 10 years when you find a cartridge, that's not going to corrode the contacts, you know, if you clean it one time. Now, if you clean the cartridge every single time you use it and you're using alcohol on it with a, Q-tip, then it's definitely going to wear down the contacts. But I still don't feel like that's a corrosion. That's just a typical wear. I've had no issues with alcohol. I don't know anyone who's had issues with alcohol. As long as you're not overdoing it, it should be absolutely fine. Alright guys, well thanks for watching. That's the first 5 questions. I have probably at least 10 more, and there will be a part 2 that's much longer, uploaded late tonight. I wanted to make sure I got this first part out. If you guys want to see more of me and lots of other great pickers tonight on Chad's channel, which is Golden Finger Picker, we're doing the Reseller Pulse, and today we're going to be talking about idea versus execution, which is very important, a very important topic. And I hope to see you guys there. I hope you enjoy this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. And if you have questions for me, leave them down below because I'll get to them in the next video. Absolutely, for sure. Thanks so much, guys.